USA by Sadie, Mobley, and Maisie, Jaworsky. Maya's success. The Maya were successful because of their great farming techniques. They use terraces in the highlands, so they are able to grow in rocky or swampy areas. This helped to make use of the space and feed their growing population. Inca success. The Inca used messaging relay systems to get messages from one place to another faster on their elaborate roads. These people would run for miles and miles to get the message to other tribes. Another thing that made the Inca civilization so great was their suspension bridges over rivers and cliffs. The bridges over rivers were made out of thick rope cables, with 2 cables serving as rails, while 3 others held a walkway. This helped people get over the cliff and river faster and safer. The Inca also had quipus that acted as a memory aid because they had no written language. Aztec success. One thing that made the Aztec civilization successful were the logs they put in the water on their island peninsula to create more land. They sunk the logs into the lake around their island and filled them with mud, reeds, and boulders. In this way, they created floating gardens. The Aztec ended up expanding their land to 5 square miles. Floating gardens helped make the Aztec more successful because they could farm more food and turn their small island home of the great city of Tenochtitlan. The irrigation systems carried from a spring that was 3 miles away and helped them not have to carry water for 3 miles. Using the irrigation system helped keep their crops healthier, therefore making people more healthy because there is more food to sustain them. Their 260-day calendar helped them decide when the lucky days were to go to war and harvest their crops. They also had a 365-day calendar that helped them with farming since it tracked the seasons. Maya failures. Disease caused the population to shrink because of death. Parasites spread diseases among the Maya. This led to many deaths and could have led to the failure of the Maya. Another impact could have been climate change. Climate change caused crop failure, which led to the failure of the Maya. Climate change caused crop failure due to not keeping up with the constant climate change they were encountering. The Maya Empire kept growing and needed more food to feed the whole empire. The Maya couldn't support everybody in their empire because all their crops were dying. Another impact could have been that the warfare that they have gotten out of control within the wars, so they slowly shrank and failed. The Maya were involved with a lot of warfare and could have gotten out of control. The population was shrinking from death as more and more wars came, and the Maya slowly disappeared. Aztec failures. The Aztec depended on their ruler for religious ceremonies and to give them advice, so when the Spanish overthrew their ruler, it was a great hardship to them. One of the main diseases brought by the Spanish was smallpox. Smallpox is a deadly disease that wiped out branches of the Aztec civilization, and the people who were left alive were too weak to fight off the Spanish. Some of the weapons that the Aztec were not accustomed to were swords, armor, cannons, and guns. The Spanish also had alliances with other tribes that increased the number of people that were fighting against the Aztec. Inca failures. One thing that could have brought down the Inca was that the Spanish brought diseases, and so that they were not used to, so the Incan army got smaller and weaker than it was before the Spanish came, and the Spanish ended up defeating their army. Another thing was that the Spanish had advanced weaponry that the Inca and other native tribes had never seen before and were not used to. One of the advanced weaponry included was swords, shields, cannons, and guns that the Inca had never been accustomed to fighting against. Advanced tools of civilization. The Maya were one of the only civilizations that figured out that they could use numerals to represent numbers. This is similar to Roman numerals that are used today. One of the Aztecs' most remarkable technological achievements was the construction of their island city, Tenochtitlan. They enlarged their island by making small islands called chinampas. They used the chinampas as floating gardens to farm more crops. Farmers now use raised garden beds to keep their crops separate from the soil below. One of the Incan tools that is used today are their mail system. The Inca had a runner that would use quipu to remember messages that were sent to other Incan villages. We still use the system as a mail system to deliver letters and messages. We might not have a mail truck today if it weren't for the Inca.
Threats to the U.S. in relations to ancient civilizations. Nuclear war is a threat to the U.S. This relates to the Inca and Aztec civilization because the Spaniards had more advanced weapons compared to their strong armies. The Spaniards' army was stronger because they had advanced armor, swords, shields, guns, and cannons. Another thing that could harm the U.S. is climate change. This relates to the Maya because one reason the Maya failed was because of climate change. The Maya had a serious dry spell that lasted 2,000 years, and there was a lack of water that was very difficult to grow crops. The United States has a leak of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases that is creating a barrier in the atmosphere. Because of this, there is an increase of temperature. One other thing that could lead to the downfall of the U.S. is disease. This relates to the diseases that the Spanish brought and introduced to the Aztecs and Incas, for example, smallpox and scarlet fever. These diseases wiped out large parts of the populations and weakened those who survived so they could not fight back.
Prevent climate change. To improve the United States of America, we would reduce the use of fossil fuels to prevent climate change. We would reduce the large coal and gasoline burning factories to use natural renewable energy sources such as solar power, wind power, and hydroelectric power. This would reduce pollution and climate change because many fossil fuels, when they burn, produce harmful gases that fog the atmosphere and cause global warming. Climate change may make other threats larger, such as air quality, food shortage, and spread of disease. We would convert factories and vehicles to natural resources to make the air fresh and without pollution, which would make people, animals, and the food we eat more healthier. It would also make our homes more habitable and cozy because the air would be naturally fresh.
Prevention of disease. To improve the United States and prevent disease, we would have farmers make their food more organic by banning pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, and hormones. For example, farmers are growing their food with pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers, and hormones, which is unhealthy for people to eat and is bad for your body because of the chemicals in pesticides and fertilizers. This is important because we want to keep our food as healthy and chemical-free as possible to promote health and decrease disease.
Preventing starvation. To improve the United States, we would lower the prices and taxes on food at grocery stores, so it will make it more affordable for people who don't have enough money to buy food to support their families and themselves. For example, 5.8 million households suffer from food and water insecurity, which can result in hunger. This is important because so many people can't afford to buy food or healthy food. So lowering the prices on healthy food in grocery stores can make it more affordable for people who don't have enough money to buy healthier choices of food.
Prevent nuclear war. To prevent nuclear war, we could continue friendly relationships with allied countries, maintain a strong defense and security, and enter peace agreements with countries that have the resources to make nuclear weapons. We need strong leadership and diplomacy with other nations. This change is needed to continue to prevent other nations from using nuclear weapons against the United States in order to protect the people living